Alright guys, welcome back to Half Rod's YouTube channel. So I have done a whole bunch of little work to Steve's car, little projects that are big projects, if that makes any sense. This car has been an absolute fight on just about everything I've had to do to it, but I am slowly getting it in shape. It's like the car's trying to beat me up, but I just won't let it, you know what I mean? So I've done a whole bunch of video clips on Steve's car. And I even done some this past weekend on my square body, my crashed square body. I finally did some work to it, but there's no sound. So I've got my microphone hooked up here and we'll see how this goes. I don't understand why there's no sound on my videos. It just doesn't make sense to me, but it is what it is. It's a GoPro thing. I've got 4 GoPros here and every one of them has a unique issue from the others. So it's like there's something weird with all 4 of them, and it's dumb. It's just dumb. But anyway, so the thing that I wanted to talk about was, so on the 18th of this month, which is this coming Saturday, my friend Mark is putting on his yearly Cars and Grub event, where if you have something cool to drive, you bring it to his house and he feeds you. So I'm not sure what we're having this year. So for the last 2 years, I've taken my 55, my black 55 hardtop, and I wasn't going to take it this year. I was wanting to take my dad's truck just to take something different. You know, everybody that's there, it's usually the same people, and they've already seen it. So anyway, I kind of haven't decided because my car, I talked about it before, it doesn't get driven much, so the plugs foul out on it from pulling it in and out dead cold, and then I've got a number 3 cylinders getting oil on the plug, and it's already starting to get where it's running bad again, so the plugs are going to have to be pulled out and blasted again, and to do that, it's about a 30-minute job with taking the plugs out with headers. I have to do it with a wrench, and it just kind of sucks. There's one of them you just about have to stand on your head to change, but that's just life with working on headers. So I don't know if I'm going to mess with it or not. I may just ride with Steve over there in his car. That's the plan. Now, it may not happen, but that's going to be the goal, is I'm going to see if I can get Steve's car drivable to take it to Mark's cookout. And it's going to kind of be the drivability challenge video, we'll call it, the shakedown. But I've still got quite a bit of work to do to his car, lots of stuff. But hopefully it's not going to give me as much headache as what I've been getting with the car. So there's lots of little things done. I'll probably take the camera off the tripod and show you all some of that stuff. But anyway, it's a little finishing up things. Ran into a problem. So Steve had bought this Classic Instruments instrument cluster. This is all electronic now. This is not a mechanical cable or nothing. So I get to learn how to calibrate an electronic speedometer, which I'm not a fan of electronics. I like my old school cars to stay old school, but I'm sure I can figure it out. The problem is, in this kit that he bought, it did not come with a push button that you're supposed to install, and it's the, I don't even remember what it's called. Basically, you have to have it to calibrate the speedometer. You have to hold the button in, I'm assuming, to set it or calibrate it or something. Haven't been there yet, just had to figure it out. But we didn't get that button. It's not in the box with the other stuff, so that's kind of a bummer. If you've been watching the channel long enough, when you buy these instrument clusters from Classic Instruments, these are very expensive. And when this came in, when Steve bought it, the lens, you have to put the lens in and you have to supply your own bezel. The lens is glass, and it comes with these little bitty domed rubber stick-on, peel and stick little cushions that you have to put on there. And I put them on there exactly like the instructions said, and when I screwed the back on, it broke it in half because it's glass. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of the early cars, or very early made cars, their lenses were glass, and there was problems with people getting cut up real bad in bad car accidents. So how this is possible to sell that and that be legal, I don't know, but Anyway, I ended up getting a sheet of polycarbonate and I cut it out and made it work. So now it's plastic. So that's a good thing. I don't have to worry about that breaking again, and I don't have to worry about if the event something happens, it didn't cut his face up. So anyway, I had to order that push button, and I did not know this until I ordered it. I went to Classic Instruments website and found that push button, and I ordered it. It was 21 bucks, and that's with shipping and all that stuff. I got an email from Holley. So I guess Holley bought Classic Instruments. I didn't know that. Anyway, I've got the amp thing mounted. There's lots of little things I've done. I'm going to have to try to remember what all I've done on the car. But I know there's still more headaches on the way. So I ended up having to repaint this because I dented it. And I tried to get the dent out, and I couldn't get it out. Well, when I finally did get it out, it ended up cracking the body filler and primer and everything down here on the bottom. So I ended up having to redo all this, prime it, sand it, prime it again, scuff it, paint it. Very time consuming on that, but it looks pretty good. So this needs to be reassembled to the rest of the heater box, and then it'll be ready to put in the car. So I'm going to have heater hose to put on the engine. I've already got I guess the ports on the intake and the water pump, so now I just need to get the heater box installed and get some hose and hose clamps and install it. I still can't remember what all I got going on. Anyway, I still got to do a flipper on the other side. Let me get the camera on a pod and walk it around here. Alright, it makes that camera awful heavy having that big cage with all the stuff from my microphone on it. There's a box that takes a battery and everything sitting on top of it. So it might make the video shaky. I don't know. I've had it with this GoPro crap, man. I've still got to finish up some wiring. So I'm waiting on that switch to come in, or button for the instrument cluster, so I can finish hooking that up and install that. I've got just about everything ready. I've got to wire up the radio still yet, and also put the steering column in. I don't know why that EasyWire puts the ends on this for your steering column already. It's a cut-to-fit universal harness, and these are going to be way too long, like that much too long. So. And that one's super long. I don't even know what... I mean, you can't wire something really nice when it's that bulky on there. But anyway, it takes a specific little connector, as you can see. So I had to order those, and I ended up having to order a whole steering column kit. So I ordered one the first time, and like 4 days goes by, and then I get a message from the guy at eBay, and he said that he's waiting on them to come in. And this is the second or third time that I've ordered something from eBay that you think somebody has in their hands or in stock, and they don't. So I don't have time to wait around for those, so I ended up ordering from another company. Hopefully, it says they're going to be here Wednesday, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I got to wire up that new steering column, and I'm going to use the factory style connector. I can show you right here. So I don't think I've showed this before. So Steve got a new steering column. This is a chrome plated universal tilt steering column, and I've got some issues that I have to work through on it, but it comes with the GM style switch or connector, and this piece that connects to that was actually in the EasyWire box in the harness kit. So, but they put the ends on it, which I think is stupid because some of the wires are way too long. Anyway, so I need to get new terminals and cut those to fit and put them back on, because I don't want 5 feet of wire under there all wadded up in a mess. So I've got to figure out, I messaged a guy on eBay that has this column, and he never replied back. So there's a gray wire in here, and I've never seen a gray wire in a GM column before that I remember. So anyway, I've got to try to Google that and figure out what all these... I'm assuming this is GM color coded, but got the steering column, but they didn't give you any wiring with, you know, wiring instructions or anything. So it's just dumb. It's just, this is universal crap. This is what you end up having to mess with, is this stuff. It gets frustrating when you're, you know, trying to finish something up and the companies won't even send you instructions to hook something up. I guess they expect everybody to be wiring experts. And again, I don't know what the gray wire's for. Anyway, another thing I got to figure out is mounting on this column, because this is a universal column and the shaft is a little bit narrower than a factory steering column. So here is what was with Steve's parts, is only half, it's actually about 3/4 of a rubber pad that's supposed to go all the way around the column. So I dug through my stuff and I found a piece that I think will work. But anyway, when you put that on there and you put this on there, it's too loose. So I'm going to have to make some kind of sleeve on there to make that smaller. And I've got this piece of radiator hose here that I think if I cut a strip of it out and cut it in half, I can get it on there first and then put this over it, and I might be able to put it in the column. So again, this is the kind of crap you have to figure out how to do this stuff, because when you buy universal stuff, it's always a nightmare. So I've got his amp mounting deal done. I've got the furniture plugs that I drilled out for the wires going through. It looks really, really awesome. I still have to run the amplifier main battery cable into the cooler that's a battery box, so I have to drill a hole in the back side of that, run a rubber grommet in it, and then run the wire through. Anyway, this is what it looks like on the back side, and you probably can't see in here, it's too dark, but I've got I used some plastic loom clamps and screws and basically just kind of run the wires up here, and then I just took some of the big stickers that was with a lot of the stuff he's bought. It comes with like these big giant stickers that you wouldn't want to put on your car. I wouldn't want to put on my car, so I just stuck them on the back of the board. You're not going to see that when the seat's in, you're not going to ever see it, but I just stuck them up there just because. I ended up drilling a hole in each sunk in spot in this rear part, and I drilled a hole with step bit and I put a rubber grommet in there, and then I run, that is actually for the 6x9 speakers, and then the rest of the stuff's going down and around, and it'll be run up through there, which I still have to zip tie all that together and then put the panel on over there. So let's see, I didn't ever show this, and I don't think in any of the videos, but that is what when you take a heater box sections apart and redo everything, that's how nice it looks when it's done. It looks brand new. So even the spring and the little lever door, all that I pulled out was all separated. I cut a new seal out of some foam and put in that. And I've got the blower motor mounted, and I've got the sleeves painted and installed on there. And I actually put butyl on them from the factory on your studs that go through your firewall. On your box and this, they have these sleeves. Be sure them sleeves are on there. Anyway, the factory put butyl on the end of that to put them sleeves on, and that way when you're trying to install it or uninstall it, you don't lose the sleeves. So I've got butyl on those, and I've got them on the 2 on that. You have 5 sleeves total. What else? So I still got to hook up the radio. I went to wire it up there last week, and there's a blue remote wire for the amplifier. And that radio, that classic auto sound or whatever that is, custom auto sound I think is the name of it, it's a radio for one of these cars. It does not have a blue amp wire on it. So I texted a buddy of mine and he said to use, if it has a power antenna wire, you can use it. And it does have a power antenna wire, so I'm going to use that. But I could have probably Googled that, but I've got a buddy that does car stereo installations and stuff for a living. He's been doing it 20-something years probably. And he's pretty good at it. But I've got these AC vents mounted in the dash, and it was a nightmare because the previous shop cut the holes in the dash and they did not put them in the right location, so these did not fit the dash properly. There was big gaps on the sides. That side was the worst. I could get my finger on the outside over there all the way behind that. That's how big the gap was. So you'd have seen that every time the door was open and went to get in the car, you'd seen the gap on that. So I used weather strip, or it's basically like a welting, and it's off of Bushwhacker fender flares. So I cut that and put it on there, and it takes up the gap. And to me, that rubber strip on there kind of looks like it's supposed to be on there, I think. But I think it looks really nice. And I do have his Kicker 3.5-inch speakers mounted back there, and they are hooked up. So it's going pretty good. I mean, it's time consuming doing all this little crap, but it should look pretty awesome. I had to modify this a little bit. I had to file the opening just a little bit on the top because the part of the radio didn't want to fit in there all the way, and it actually, when I tried tightening the nuts down, it pulled the top piece out. So I had to go in and lightly hammer and dolly that down as not to damage it. Typical reproduction stuff, I guess. So last night I made a list on this car of things that the car needs to finish, and it is just about an entire notebook page. And I know there's probably some things that I don't have on there that I haven't remembered yet or seen, so I'm gonna have to do all that. And that each one of those is a job, and with all the other jobs on this car, it takes forever because it's hack work that have been done on it, or missing parts, or trying to do aftermarket parts that do not properly fit. And it's really starting to wear me out. But at least the tote that all the parts in is getting more empty as I go, which is a good thing. What else? But there's a lot of stuff that needs done on the car. Like I need to bleed the brakes. I need to basically, I'm going to do a front end alignment on the car here just as close as I can get it. It's going to get a professional alignment job down the road, but to drive it to Mark's, I want to get it pretty close. That way it doesn't eat up his brand new expensive BF Goodrich tires. What else? I guess that's it. It's just, there's a lot of little tidbits to do, and there's one thing on the list, I just seen it and I haven't done it yet, and that's pink wire right there laying at the back. That is for the sending unit on the fuel tank. So I've got to run that through a rubber grommet in the body, crimp an end on it, and put it on the sending unit. And then there's going to be all those bugs and the little crap to work out once we get the car running and where it's actually you can drive it. So there's always bugs to work out. And depending on the severity of those, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, I'm going to try to get his car mobile by the end of the week. And that can be the first initial drive is to my friend Mark's cookout. I think that'll be really awesome. Well, I guess I can run you guys through. Oh, there's another project that needs done on this car because of the previous shop's hack work, so I guess I can run you guys through that. I'm not real happy about it, and I'm not going to do it this week because there's a lot to do just to try to get it to that cookout. And anyway, that may be something I have him bring it back over here for later, or I might be able to do it at his house because he does have an air compressor. I'll just take my paint gun. So I'll run you through that. So I don't know how well you guys can see this. So the roof right here, see all that surface rust behind that paint? That is aerosol bed liner. And they did not even prep the bottom of the roof before they spray painted it. It's paper thin and I can flake it off with my finger. And don't do that to the underneath side of the roof of a car. You need to paint the bottom side of your roof, obviously, but you really should probably clean the rust off of it and all the factory insulation glue first. But again, from that shop that done the work, it's just previous hackassery, hurry up, get it done type of stuff. So anyway, I get tasked with having to redo that, and the entire car is mostly together and painted. So all of the outside of the car and the inside of the car is going to have to be plasticed off and masked off. So the only thing open in here is like a tunnel. I'm going to have to walk in here to repaint this. So anyway, it's a giant mess. I don't know if you can see this. See that lines of stuff right here, if that's showing up, these little bitty things. That is the factory insulation glue. So they did not even prep the bottom of this roof. They just went in there and shot that with aerosol bed liner. I know that's what it is because I have that stuff on my shelf and I know what it does. So anyway, it's paper thin and they didn't prep it. So when I put the first piece of sound deadener up there several months back, when I come back out the next day, some of it had delaminated and was hanging down, had big bubbles in it. And when I pulled it all off, some of the paint come right off with it. So you should probably use a quality paint on that, you know what I mean? So I wanted to explain this a little bit better. I never claim to be an expert, but I have ways that I do things. And you have to think about this, and hopefully it'll make sense after I explain it. On the bottom side of the roof of your car, so when you drive a car or take it outside and it's sitting in direct sunlight, that metal's going to get hot. And my car's black, so it gets really hot. So you can imagine if you've got half-ass done work under here like they did, and then you put sound deadener on there, and had I have done all that in a day, put all that sound deadener in there, and then went in there and put the headliner in this car, I would have come out the next day and that stuff would have delaminated and fell down into the headliner in places, and it looked like lumpy stuff under there, cellulite. So don't use cheap crap underneath the roof of the car. Try to be a professional if you're going to do it. At least sand it to bare metal and put some epoxy or etching primer or some quality stuff under here. You don't need to paint it. Just put on an epoxy or something at least. I wouldn't leave it bare metal. But anyway, I want to take all this down to clean metal, the roof itself, and I want to spray it with epoxy out of the gun. So I'm going to have to go buy a quart of epoxy and shoot that. Then, when you put your sound deadener up there, it'll stick. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about it delaminating and stuff. Now, I do want to talk about that some more. So Steve had bought this stuff, and I can't remember what brand this was now. It's an off-brand. It's not, usually when you buy a quality sound deadener, it has a name brand printed on it. I have black chrome Dynamat in my entire car. I bought the big boxes of the universal sheets and did the entire roof. Anyway, this stuff, when I was peeling it and sticking it, I noticed it wasn't as sticky as Dynamat. I had an extra piece in my house, a scrap piece from when I did my car, and I went in there and got it and brought it out here, and it's sure enough, it's a little bit stickier on the Dynamat side. So I would put at least a name brand sound deadener stuff up there. I've never tried Kilmat or, Boom Mat. There's a bunch of them out there, lots of different brands of it. I just wouldn't buy a cheap off-brand of it and put it up here, because if it doesn't stick very well when that roof gets hot from the sun, it'll fall right down in your headliner, and then you'll have to peel it all off and start over. So anyway, the inexpensive stuff works good for this because it's basically laying down on something. Even if you put it on the back side of your doors and all in here, when you put your door panels and side panels on there, it holds it up there if it does try to delaminate. So that stuff works good for this. So basically what I'm saying is you can use the really cheap stuff on most of the car, just don't put it on the roof. That is a bad idea. I don't know if I covered this or not. I had to pull out this quarter window because both rollers are broken on it as well, just like this side was. So I've got to go dig in my shed and try to find another window to basically remove the rollers from, and put them on that quarter window to put it in there so it doesn't all flop and clunk around in there. I've still got to put the track in, which I do have it relined. I just need to put it up in there, and then I'll have to put the flipper on and get it adjusted. I still have to do the bottoming stops right here. There's 2 stops on each door that goes here. There's also rollers on hard tops. There's an outer and an inner roller, and I have the inner rollers in and the outers. But anyway, I need to glue the rubber pads on the bottom of those. They're basically big-headed screws or bolts, if you will, and they come with rubber cushions that go on there, and they always fall off over time. So I'm going to glue them, and I probably need to do that right now when I get done filming. I need to go ahead and glue those, that way they'll be dry. So it's just this little stuff, man, just little bitty things. But I haven't put power to any of the wiring harness yet to check any of these circuits yet, so I've still got to do all that. Hopefully everything's good. I did bench test the tail lights and with the power probe, the tail lights and brake lights, and also the turn signals and the park lights up front. So I know those are working. However, I think it's the right front turn signal housing, it's got a janky back that somebody's put on there, and it doesn't really fit a bulb very well. And I never have found a replacement socket that actually works good like factory, so probably really needs to have just another new set of turn signal housings put in it in my opinion, but we'll see how it goes. The bulb kind of fits kind of sloppily in there, but it did work when I power probed it and tested it. Oh, what else? Anyway, I'm not gonna do the roof on the car right now. That's gonna be a big job because the entire car is gonna have to be completely plasticed off and the inside of the car plastic off and taped. There's gonna be a lot of time in that, and then it'll have to be shot, you know, obviously out of a spray gun. I would not use any aerosol, anything on the bottom of that if you're putting Dynamat up there, period. But I'll give you another little tip right here while I'm sitting there looking at that. So if you've never put a headliner in a Tri-5 Chevy, I'm going to give you just a quick tip. If you buy a headliner that's already done, like I got mine from Ciadella, and they had drew a pencil line down the center of the back side of that headliner. Don't use a Sharpie on a headliner because it'll bleed through the material and you'll see it from in here. So they had a pencil line that shows dead middle on the back side of that headliner. So if you get a pre-done headliner and there's not a pencil line for dead center, you need to measure it out and make sure you have it dead center. At that point, you go inside your car and you measure side to side and you mark it, and then use like a, you know, I use a wooden old school ruler, long one, measuring stick basically, and then I mark a center line, and I've got it up there in the silver, but when it's all covered in Dynamat, you're probably not going to see it, but I did mark the brace there and the brace back there that won't have Dynamat on it, so you can always redo it. But you need to put a marker line on the center of your roof. Then when you put your headliner bows in your headliner and you climb up in the car to put the headliner in, you match up your center line on your roof to the center pencil line on the back side of that headliner, and that's when you know that headliner's dead middle. So there's the tip of the day for you if you've never put a headliner in. And I can tell you, headliners on a Tri-5 are not that bad. Do be aware that when you put your rods, there's steel rods that go into that headliner, and they're not all the same. They're all different because that roof tapers on these cars. So if your headliner bows are not numbered, you need to dry fit them in the roof first, because some of them will not go in there in places like they shouldn't. So it's not the end of the world if they're not numbered. You can kind of figure it out. It's going to be a little time consuming, but you definitely need to fit them. And then they need to be cleaned and they need to be painted. If you try running a rusty headliner bow through the listing on the back of that headliner, it's going to be hard to get through and can tear it. So I would clean them up with sandpaper and just spray paint them with some Krylon or anything, you know, so that way they won't rust and bleed through your headliner. But anyway, I just wanted to give that little tip. And headliners in them Tri-5s are not that hard to do, but anyway, the one that I installed in my car was my first for a Tri-5. I've done a lot of the glue-on style headliners like in C10s and G-bodies and stuff, and those are simple. But that was my first boat headliner, was my hard top, and I learned a lot from doing that. Thankfully, I had my mom and dad here telling me what to do and pointing and basically coaching me on installing it. So that was really kind of cool to learn that, and I didn't get any wrinkles in my headliner. And I can give you another tip on not getting wrinkles in a headliner, and it might surprise you, and this is the way that you do it. If you don't want wrinkles in your headliner, I'll take you out and show you my car. It'll be a little bit easier to show you from that. So basically, you see those stitch seams right there? There's one there and one at the back. On a sedan car, it doesn't have chrome bows like this. These chrome bows, these 3 chrome bows in this hardtop, they are 55 Chevy only. They didn't put those in 56 and 57. So that is a 55 only, and the dome lights being on both sides, that's 55 only. 56 and 7 has no chrome bows, and it has a big giant light just like a sedan up there. Anyway, when you put your wires through your headliner and everything, and you go to install it, if your headliner is wrinkling up on the end, and you're trying to pull it, and you can't get the wrinkles out of the sides, you need to go in there and cut with scissors that listing, the sleeve basically, if that steel rod goes through, you need to trim it back a little bit, and do it like a 1/4 inch at a time. And you just cut that listing, and what that does is it relieves the pressure on that so you can pull down more. Because you'll see, if you go to a car show like I do and you look at stuff, you'll see a lot of headliners in these cars wrinkled up, and that's why that listing needed to be cut just a little bit to where the material can come out. So the listings are usually too long on the pre-sewn headliners. That's all you gotta do, just cut them a 1/4 inch at a time, stretch it down, see if the wrinkles are gonna be out. If they're not, cut it again. You'll have to do it on both sides. I had to do it on all of them. So little headliner tip. Wasn't planning on talking about that, but there you go. Anybody can put a headliner in. It's pretty easy, but you do need a staple gun to put it in there. So, and if you buy new, tack strips for your car, they are rubber. The original was like a cardboard fiber, almost like Masonite style stuff, and it's easy to put staples in. You can actually do it with a hand staple gun. But if you replace your tack strips in your car with the new ones, they're rubber, you ain't using a handheld staple gun. At least I couldn't do it in a car I tried years ago. So when I done my tack strips in my 55, I built them all out of wood and drilled holes and countersunk them and screwed them into the body and then used them to staple, which I have an air staple gun that worked awesome, but it still wasn't strong enough to go through rubber. So there's your headliner tips of the day, guys. Wasn't planning on talking about that, but that's some useful information. Well, I've done a whole bunch of video clips and there ain't none of them. Well, I didn't finish watching all the clips, but some of them that I clicked on did not have sound, so it just pisses me off. Anyway, I got the front clip removed off the truck. I ended up having to cut both frame rails off the front because they were bent so bad. I've got it all strapped down, but anyway, I was going to try to start the engine and see if the truck would run. And when I took the air cleaner off the engine and looked, the distributor cap is smashed up into the firewall and it's pulled, the back of it, it's like pulled forward at the top. So the engine's back into the firewall and it busted the distributor cap. So these distributor caps on these trucks, if I remember right, is they screw on. They don't have the little L hooks like an HEI or an old points distributor. So if that distributor cap is not on there, it's broken. So I'm gonna have to get a cap. And when I reached down there and was kind of messing with it, it looked like where the plug-ins on the side of that, that's a throttle body fuel injection, so it has that small distributor with a module in it. When I reached down there and moved that, the module and everything, all the wiring's moving too. So I don't know what happened there. The distributor may be broken as well, but I do have another one of those distributors here, I think. But anyway, it's going to end up being a bigger job now because the freaking distributor stuff's broken. But all I had to do was put a battery on it. I've got to replace the battery terminals and one battery cable that broke on me from the wreck, but I would have been able to start it. And then I tried to get the transmission moved over to relieve the tension on the distributor, and I can't even get the transmission to move over. The tail shaft of the transmission is way over here to this side of the frame rail, so the engine's sitting in here at an angle. So I removed all the transmission mount stuff, and I used a come along and tried to pull that transmission over, and it won't come because the frame's bent so bad. I will say, I don't think it's as bad as what it looked. This side of the cowl is bent in, and this part right here is bent in a little bit. You can see where this is rolled, but I've got that parts truck that I can cut this cowl piece off, or even take the spot welds loose and put it on in factory location by plug welding it. But that truck is not that bad. That front end sheet metal was not fun trying to remove all the stuff out of, but I removed as much as I could and tagged and bagged everything and put it in a box. So anyway, that truck, I know it'll probably run, but definitely got to replace a distributor. But I did do some work to that this weekend. So I'm going to get back to work on Steve's car, see if I can get some stuff done. It's going to be a fast week for me. It's going to be a lot of work, man. I need to bleed the brakes. The master cylinder's been bench bled and it's full of fluid, but I need to bleed the lines. So at the bleeders, I guess. I do have a pump, but it's an old one, but it doesn't work anymore. It used to work great, and I'm not going to go down and buy another one because that's the second one I bought that just, for whatever reason, they just stopped working. Because they sit in the shelf all the time, I guess. But anyway, is that it? I think that's it. I'm getting to work. Thanks for watching.